Happy New Year. Welcome back to Zenish. I am your host, Karlie. I am so excited to be here and embarking on a new year. This year, 2025, is the year of the Hermit. In the major arcana, that is card number 9. I won't say a love-hate relationship with this card because nothing about me hates this card, but it's not the easiest to interpret, especially when I pull it for myself in readings. It's much easier to sit with the energy when I'm looking at it from an objective position. The Hermit also represents Virgo energy, which I absolutely love. Even at its bitchiest, Virgo energy is such a vibe. The Virgos in my life, I love so much. I love how sassy they are. I love how spicy they are and bossy and opinionated. Something about it is just funny and entertaining to me. And it doesn't, when it is harsh, I don't feel as if it affects me as much. I can find humor in it. I just really like the energy of Virgo. Um, and then the Hermit is such a quiet, still, reflective, inward energy. When I pull it for myself, my first thought is always the freaking Hermit. And I felt like most of 2024, this card came up for me. And again, it's hard to reconcile all of the things that I know about the card into one energetic blueprint because I feel as if it contradicts itself so often. And that's likely because I overanalyze and think too hard, and it's more of something to be felt. The Hermit is our inner wisdom, our wise teacher. At the start of every yoga class, we typically chant Ong Namo Gurudev Namo, which is about the wisdom within. And this is a very hermit like energy. So I'm interested to see what lesson it has to offer us for the year. It's a 9. Nines are this portal between endings and new beginnings, the vibe of one door opening, another door closing. My life path number is a 9. I feel very connected to 9 energy. I remember years and years ago reading about life path number 9 and how it's such a lesson in letting go. And this rings so true for my life. Ever since I was a little kid, I feel like letting go, endings, death portals were always relevant. So this year, what do we need to release in order to step into a new beginning, to walk through that portal? And if you listen to me teach about the tarot, I often talk about allowing the relationship with the cards and the language of the cards to evolve. And so having the Hermit on your altar, in your journal, or using it as a bookmark for whatever you're reading, just keeping it around and checking in with this anchoring energy of the Hermit this year. I want to talk to you about the energy of strength, the 8 card, which is the year that we just left. And I want to share a little bit about my reflections on what it's meant to be strong this year, this past year in 2024. And for me, it was both very physical, like in my body this year. Around June, I've always been very serious about movement. I've always moved. But in June, my boyfriend and I were driving home from Orange Beach, and we were having a conversation about consistency in movement and showing up in movement and what it means to push yourself to become strong. And I have been very, very dedicated since that conversation to my movement practice, to consistency, to finding structure in movement, to pushing myself to be strong, to feeling into parts of my body that have been dormant and that lack strength. And over the last 6 months, I can see and can feel what consistency and what strength training does for my body, and I am loving it. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But something that I am learning through my movement practices and through dedication and consistency is that it is forever changing and evolving, and it is a practice to learn how to listen and to tune in and to cultivate a practice that works for you. We're going to be talking about this a lot through the first quarter of Sunday service and connecting with your body and creating a flow from home series that gives you the results that you want and why consistency and dedication are so important. And that first meetup is January 26th, the first Sunday service of the year, the last Sunday in January. So definitely tune in for that. I'm really excited. And I am really hoping that we have such a good guest this month on the podcast. He's deciding how he feels about being on the podcast, but he is like the perfect example of consistency and dedication. And if you know the people in my personal life, you know exactly who I'm talking about. But then the other part of strength, moving on for the year for me, has been about truly embracing who I am and not giving a fuck about what other people think. And this has always been very, very hard. But this year, I am giving so much credit to Queen Herbie and her music and her lyrics, and Kendrick Lamar too, this latest album, and of course Taylor Swift, on just living my fucking life. Stop questioning myself so goddamn much and really reflecting on where I am and how much I truly love the life that I have cultivated for myself by trusting me. And even when I have fucked up, I have, again, been reflective. You learn better, you do better. And allowing myself to be this eccentric, quirky, nerdy, loving, kind, spicy, sassy human that I am unapologetically. Doesn't mean I don't say I'm sorry. It just means this is me and you be you. And I am going to love and embrace this person. And that is not easy to do. It requires inner strength. It requires knowing that you are going to not get it right every time, but still choosing to show up anyway, to trust where it is your heart is leading you, and to continue to say yes to yourself, to the things that bring you joy, and even to the things that bring you heartache. There's been so many times in my life where I have felt such an urge to say yes to something, and there was something in the back of my mind, in the back of my heart, in the back of my soul saying that this is going to hurt, and choosing to do it anyway because there was something that I needed to learn. And that takes strength. It takes strength to fuck up, to make mistakes, to fall down, and to continue to get back up despite the leering, the comments, the shit talk that happens either to your face or behind your back. And the truth is, this year I have realized that I cannot make everyone happy. And that why should someone else's opinion influence how I live my day to day? And I did a lot of things this year that made me uncomfortable, and I felt so much love and joy radiating from my being. And I realized that fear keeps me from shining my absolute brightest, as corny as that fucking sounds. It is so fucking true. So thank you for all of you who have been along on this journey, who have endured the cringy moments of my projects and practices, and who have benefited from the moments where I have truly been in my power and have shined. And I love you for being here and supporting me and supporting this project and the practices. And I hope that you are truly loving them and feeling lighter and more alive and more eager to grow and explore who you are through whatever it is that you feel called to explore. So I want to talk about the energy of this month and how we're starting a new year, but also, we're still in the season of winter, and the zodiac new year doesn't begin until Aries season in April. I'm saying this because there's such an eager, busy energy around January 1st and sticking to our goals, and just like it's very action oriented, and energetically we're still in the season of winter, which is a death portal, which is quiet, which is still. And the card that I pulled and that is resonating for the energy right now is the Hanged Man. And through the month of December, really for me personally, since October, the very first weekend of October, it's been nonstop. And even if we're looking at a bigger picture, for a lot of us, we've been diving into this work of self and learning who we are and improving our lives and being really excited about, I don't know, I feel like you kind of, when you tap into this authentic, aligned flow, things kind of take off. And then there's this moment where we stop. And I feel with the Hanged Man card present, we've been running towards our goal in this specific direction. And what I see is like a trap in the woods, like we see in cartoons, where your foot gets stuck and all of a sudden you're pulled upside down and you're like hanging from a tree by one leg. And that's how I feel about the Hanged Man. We're moving. And all of a sudden, this season of the Hanged Man grabs us by our foot and we're hanging and we're orienting because the world's still spinning. We're trying to process what's happened. And it's kind of this call to stillness before we decide what's next. And I feel this in goal setting. I feel this in the work that we're doing and in any decisions that are being asked to be made of us right now. It's this invitation to gain a new perspective. And that is such a huge theme of the Hanged Man. It's like, okay, let's slow down and kind of open up that third eye center, open up the center of perception, and really check in with where we're going, what we want, and if we feel aligned, if our actions feel aligned. And I feel as if January, instead of a time of taking big action, it's a time of nurturing. I see us energetically, I see us like tending to our home and our soul. How are we feeling? What do we need? What needs our immediate attention? And allowing us to regroup before we set big goals for ourselves or make big decisions for ourselves. And I feel like that takes pressure off. Yes, we are deciding what we want to feel like, what we want our energetic blueprint to feel like. And then over the next few months, we slowly align our actions, slowly align our choices. And then when it comes to Aries season in April and we really start the new zodiac year, we tap into that cardinal fire of Aries and we're able to take action and really, the energy supports a more fast moving pace. Plus, it's springtime. And so now we're planting seeds. We're checking in with the seeds we've already planted. What's growing? What feels good? What's kind of, wasting our energy in our garden and needs to be dug up and set aside or thrown out? Like just assessing. Just assessing. If you go on to Patreon, each week I post a reading that dives a little bit deeper into the concepts that we're talking about here on the podcast. And I also have a really beautiful, very, very short meditation for the month of January. And it allows us to get really clear and make space in our energy field so that we can see very clearly, moment to moment, what actually needs our attention. And then I have a meditation energy work on being open and softening so that we can receive not only abundance in tangible form, but also insights and downloads on an energetic level. So all of that is on the Patreon. You can find all of that on the extended tier. January 15th, we have our first holding space, which is a virtual meetup. I have some ideas of what I want to cover, but this is also a space for everyone to show up and talk about how we're feeling about the concepts we're covering on Patreon, how we feel about what I'm talking about on the podcast. When we're working with energy, when we're working in these healing spaces, such as the Zenish Patreon, this podcast, Sunday service, etc., things are happening to our subtle body. things are going to come up for us. We're inviting change. And so holding space is a place for us to very openly and candidly talk about what is going on in our lives, in energy work, in our personal practices, in work, whatever it is. It's just a space for you to be held and to talk about things. So, what's coming up for you? How is all of this landing for you? Let's have a conversation about it. And I'll also be touching on what it means to hold space for people, how we can do that when people are difficult, and how we can cultivate a loving space in our homes and in our environment so that we can show up for our Flow from Home series at home. So we can journal, so we can have a space where we feel safe and loved and supported pulling cards. There's a lot that can be gone over in holding space. Holding space is $33, or you can sign up for the Sunday service tier on Patreon. And you can find all of this information on the Patreon and also in the last episode I posted on the podcast. I love you guys so much. I am going to go now to pick up my car that has been in the shop because I just saw them calling, and I just wanted this to be short and sweet and to check in and say Happy New Year. 2025 has so much good shit in store for us. What does a number 9 year mean for you? What does a hermit year mean for you? And looking back on 2024, how do you feel as if you tapped into the energy of strength? I love you guys so much. Please get on the Patreon, download the app, check out what is on there. Mwah. Peace out.